So I'm going to attempt to trauma talk. I've had a bath and I've got a cup of tea with me, and I've put some of the sticky plasters on which I mentioned in the previous talk. Sometimes I worry about diseases, and though it could seem far-fetched to people, I know I was poisoned, and I often think at one of the dentists where my dead grandmother, she knew one of the dentists, who I'll call Mr. P, honouring his surname or the name he used, and I think he was Swedish. And I'm not going to look at the camera too much because just keeping myself together and being so aware is quite difficult. So if I look this way, then I'm looking at my own reflection and it's less intense. And sometimes I think they injected me with female hormones from the dentist. And I know they did so much to me. And mentally ill people fall into different brackets, and sometimes different brackets of description. So you could say someone has delusions of grandeur, and perhaps they do. But connecting with myself and understanding where I come from. So my dad's side was Somalia, and my mother's side is British. And I vaguely remember, I think an auntie or a great grandmother from my dad's side. I think it was her. I think we're a royal bloodline, and I certainly connect with this notion that I am spiritual royalty. I have a goddess, an empress energy. But then healing from being tortured and forced to torture and kill as a child, and being converted from a beautiful dark-skinned baby to thinking of yourself as a piece of shit with family members who make you do the most awful things to them sexually. And I was darker when I was younger. I've changed the photo in the bottom right hand side of my YouTube, which obviously I can't see at the moment because this is a recording. And I intuitively and confidently believe that my mother bleached my skin as a child, and hearing things like my grandmother saying, oh, there's all sorts you can do with them. And I think my mum used to put bleach in the bath, and it was common practice for me to get in the bath with her and after her, and I just had no control of myself. And I would also get in the bath after her when it was what she would call her time of the month, which is disgusting, but is nothing compared to the level of disgustingness of the other things that she did to me menstrually and just in every other way. And I think she was just so tortured. And essentially, when you give in to being part of the Satanic Paedophile Network, you're giving up your soul, and it's likely in exchange for money or keeping your life. And my grandmother, well, my mum comes from a stock of 6 siblings. The one that was murdered, Lee Smirk. And then there's my mother Carole, my uncle Neil who has the carpet shop, my uncle who I signed the community resolution for, who raped me and tortured my eyeball, SS, who I never really called an uncle, I just called by his first name, who has special needs, and then my auntie C, who was she was always a good auntie, or I would say a good enough auntie, and I think that's what the best people can aim for when they've had trauma, is to be good enough. I do have a memory of her when we were at a caravan site, and one of her actions, not with me, once stuck with me because it showed how whatever trauma she had carried was playing itself out, and it's something I think I judged her for. But then when I think about all of my transgressions and sins, it puts things into perspective. It just, my childhood was just torture. And I think before my mum was converted, I think she was sensitive and kind. I think she had an edge and a rebellious streak, and perhaps some of her own sins which she carried, which made the prospect of being open about her brother's murder and the trauma from her stepdad and her mum and her granddad. She was just lost. We had different neighbours who helped us. At one house there was a shooting, and as the story goes, my dad was in the bathroom with me upstairs, and I think it was related to my grandmother, who had got involved with some gangsters, and it was possibly connected to a robbery of a post office on Spring Cottage. And my nana was married to a gangster, and I think she was just so fucked up from her trauma and the murder of Lee Smirk. I think she went to Cleethorpes, and I think possibly the gangster she was married to and got involved with, and she was also re-involved with him at a later stage when she was with SMS, who was essentially my minder, and I think one of the things he did was take me to Bradford to get raped. But I just think I knew my grandmother was evil. And I was like divine child of light with special needs, and I could sort of see everything and I suppose feel everything. And I just don't think she liked the reflection. And it was so satanic that they want everything from you. They steal your manhood. They slander you. They make lies about people being kiddie fiddlers or paedophiles. Well, that's what they're doing. So I'd be watching the TV with her and she'd say they're all at it. Or when I was a teenager, she'd say, you just cop a feel. So there's a lot in that. She's just telling me if you want to touch someone, you just feel them. And it's also the word cop. And my nana was buried Lesley Dickinson, which I think was her name when Lee was murdered, and the same as her dad, Gordon Dickinson, my granddad, who intuitively was a paedophile. But she was married as a Sargent, which is a powerful surname. Lesley Sargent. Hello, hiya lovey. My girlfriend, who I raped, who I was forced to rape, to stop them killing my little brother, to keep the control of me. I think I took her to meet my grandmother, and I was so embarrassed because she was just swearing and talking horrible, and she had these pictures up of her on the wall which were very narcissistic and in like a denim shirt with red lipstick and like laid on some sort of bed or wherever she was laid, and then she had lots of valuable possessions in her home, but it was all from like evil money, and I was just so embarrassed. And I think because they couldn't kill me, they never managed to kill me, I sort of fucked things up being who I am, like a glitch. And I think sometimes they'd possibly look into my eyes and they'd say to each other, these evil child murderers, I just can't do it, I just can't kill him. And I think my uncle, community resolution order, killed kids in front of me, and have an intuitive memory of my grandmother bringing 2 children down the street, Norfolk Close, where the houses are knocked down, and then only one child went back down the street with her, and she'd sometimes bring a suitcase, a red Sisley suitcase, and I think there would be human and child remains in the suitcases, and I think she ordered my uncle to kill one of the children by snapping the neck in my living room. And obviously these are bold aspersions to make. Sometimes I'm more confident in certain repressed memories than others, but I'm just sharing what I live with inside of me. So obviously I was always pleasing adults sexually, lots of men, and my mother, orally, menstrually. So they stole my boyhood, they stole my manhood, and I think it was her satanic delight that we'll just we'll take his ethnicity from him, we'll bleach his skin, we'll take his boyhood, we'll take his manhood, we'll make him think he's a girl, rape him, drug him. I think another memory is making me watch About a Boy with my mum with a wig on, dressed as a girl. And it's shocking to people who haven't experienced satanic ritual abuse, but when you've experienced it, I thought I had like an extra surprise in my tea, but fortunately I don't. And I think being reluctant to do the impression of my uncle takes my takes any power he has left if he's still alive away from him. And for the purpose of this talk, if this talk is released, it's probably better if I reel things in where all of the memories and sharings are concerned, because that just creates a bit of healthy distance. But it's just a lot, and it's just a different family to be part of. It's a different way of living. It's evil, satanic. I think respecting the energy of healing is being with it wherever it is. Learning to respect yourself and be kind to yourself and share what feels appropriate and challenge yourself in life accordingly to what you feel you can manage. Sometimes like pushing yourself and sometimes holding back. Having the balance. I was judging myself earlier because I talk about shouting and banging and crashing. And then I say I have Buddhist values, I'm a Buddhist. People might think, oh well, some of the things you talk about, I watch porn as well, some of the things you talk about is not very Buddhist. But then I think, well, I'm a human being and I can have Buddhist values, but I don't have to be perfect. And balance is important, owning your darkness and owning your light. Children is a very difficult topic for me, and even seeing children is just so difficult on a daily basis because it's just triggering, and especially after the rape, I think I don't think I'm like a rapist because I was forced to rape. So I think I can sort of start to give myself some compassion. After the rape, I certainly remember some sexual encounters, some vague memories of inappropriate, perhaps what you could consider rapey sexual encounters, or just some deviancy which I'm not proud of. But I was also like so weak as well, a lot of the times. I think I was just like trying to survive. And I had a repressed memory come through recently, which is my uncle coming to the Beverley Road flat to kill me. Fortunately, my best friend, who I choose not to name, was there, and we didn't see a knife, but I think he had a knife in his jacket, and I think he left it outside. I think we alchemized the situation by using the knife, cleaning it, and using it in our home. It was terrifying to take the power away from it, and he was just possessed. I know they cut balls off. They blackmail you by targeting your testicles, and there's a possibility that my uncle who raped me, who I signed the community resolution order for, who is just a dangerous menace, but also someone who's just had his brain stolen by Satan. There's a possibility that he had both of his balls detached or taken off by the network, by his mother. And I sometimes wonder if she ate them. And I had some other less confident memories, but sort of glimmers coming through of, I think they did something to my mother with genital mutilation, which just added insult to injury to everything she carried. And I think they just told me loads of different things to do and to ask, and just to put more pressure on her. So for example, if they did cut part of her womanhood from her with, let's say, nail clippers, which is something I was thinking happened, and then my nana would be at the home asking me to show my mum the nail clippers, just in day-to-day living. And then my mum's obviously generally had no money. I think she turned to prostitution, which I think my mum was on a good enough path as a mother with me at Gleneagles Park before my mother got in with before my grandmother got in with SMS. Her toy boy husband, who was half her age, who spent a lot of time with us and was a big part of the paedophile ring. And my middle brother, you obviously have a duty with your siblings and with trauma, I suppose, to be mindful or careful on how much you share, because we've all been well survived these psychopaths. There's still some questions, if I'm honest, about how my brothers are, but the more I focus on myself and have the courage to let go, the less power the network have over me. And they always controlled me to be going back for something. And I think she would just be fascinated by what's in my eyes. It's like, what is that energy that you carry? I want it. It's mine. How do we get it? How can we get it out of him? How can we take that innocence away from him? And obviously they took it away from me with the forcing me to take part of child prostitution, attempted murder and evil stuff. I think my mum used to make a brew after she'd scrub my skin with a flannel and drain the liquid out of it and make a brew and drink it, which to someone who hasn't experienced satanic ritual abuse would seem like it really blows your brain. But to me, it's an understanding that they know I'm gifted. They're also gifted in the DXVIL sense, in the Sith, the darkness sense. So it was their job to just tap into my natural purity, earth angel, beautiful light, and to use that to create hell and destruction. And I think I used to watch movies just hypnotized, and watch it to the end credits and dance with the movie and be so connected to the medium that I was watching. And then when they damaged my eye, they broke that connection, and it just like sent me as a glitch, just like sent me mental. And I used to scream and be really angry and really kick off, and it would shock them. But then they also got a kick out of my sort of special needs anger and how different I was, because I carry God within me because of who I am. And that was so threatening to them. So I think breaking my teeth, damaging my eye, or mind controlling me to break my teeth, which I'm confident that's what happened. Damaging my testicle, and then the rapes and everything. It just took that natural expression of like challenging wrongs. And I always wanted to protect my brothers, and always wanted to protect my mother. And I informed my middle brother that his... See, I have to be careful by sharing this, because it could hurt him. So I have to put a boundary with it, even though I think most people know now. But I'll just say I informed one of my brothers that... I informed one of my brothers who his dad was, and my mum obviously lied about that his whole life. And I understand why she did, because of the shame she carried from it. And if you look back at her trauma, it's just understandable how she had no way out. And I had a rape or kill bind, and I think other binds that they had, or that they said they practiced, was balls or bullet. Like, do you want us to take your balls, or do you want a bullet? And Neil at the carpet shop, he would just sometimes, he just spoke in random 2 or 3 words, and one left. It's like one testicle left, is all you've got? One left. Right. Banging on. That means talking. Brother's only got one left. Did he say that to me? There was often things he said about my brothers, which was, I think, was regarding their manhood, and I just blocked it out as though it wasn't part of my life. But they always knew I knew what was going on. And they owned all of our manhoods, they owned all of our they owned everything. So I think they gave me something at the dentist when I had some extractions, because they inject you. And I think that dentist was part of the network. And I told one of the police officers who came to my property, to my flat, before the arrest, possibly 6 months ago, I said, they're in the police. They are. They're everywhere. They're in the healthcare service. The Northern Power Grid comes to mind intuitively. Like, Neil would look out the shop. We're in there. We're in there. Oh, there's some of our worst ones. What's he like when he goes off? And if you think about what I've been through, and aside of my transgressions, how I tried to bring like decency and understanding to the world, think about how I would be, or how anyone else would be. Like, obviously my mum, who's been through hell, who became a satanic paedophile. When you turn it on its head and you just use your trauma to like beat the shit out of your kids and abuse kids and kill and torture and murder, and I think I've blocked a lot of the satanic stuff out because it's just too unbearable. But it's just like an intuitive understanding that, yeah, there will be police officers who who pay for the services of children and who are quote unquote high up. Because there's light and dark in all of us, and pedophilia exists all over the world. And people who have power can delete documents, they can protect evil people, they can change things. So it's just an understanding while I've been fighting this to just follow my light. And that's all I've done, just follow my light. Try not to die or get killed or kill myself. I lost one friend to suicide, which I'm not going to talk about too much on this video because it's through courtesy to him and his family. But this was something that my family doubled down on sort of before and after his death, and I look back and just sometimes I just think like how many people, it's not like saying, maybe sometimes I have to reframe it because I can't like, it's not fair for me to say that I'm killing people, but that's how it feels when they're sort of the network are inside you and they're telling you what to do and what to say, and they're just changing everything about you. So for example, my Barcelona girlfriend, who I won't name, I'll just refer to her as she. And again, this is just trusting my intuition. There's always going to be mistakes, errors, approximations, as I've said in some other writing. So I think how it went was like my uncle ringing me up, my uncle community resolution order. They see the light, they see the trust building. He speaks to me. I don't want to give him any information because I'm creating some independence. Then he'll make some sort of comment or just, I'll use my youngest brother's initial, and I'll use his name. Or we'll just see how Miguel's doing, which means like, you know who we are, we're fucking psychopaths. If you don't tell us what you're up to, which is like, you're a man now, or what's left of a man, you're a guy, you're an adult male, you've been through hell. If you don't tell us what you're up to, we'll be in close contact with your little brother, you know, your fragile little brother. That's how I saw him. I think I'd be shocked if I saw him now, because he's probably alchemized his pain into strength. So it's like, oh, well, I'll do it. And then I'd change my voice. Oh yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Yeah, yeah. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, what's she like? Oh, any goss? And then it's like stupid, horrible stuff like with my friends. Or oh, what are the feet like? Hey, what are they into? Huh? And it's just satanic. And like you convince yourself that you'll just share a few bits of info, they'll come off the phone, and then it's over, and you can just get on with whatever you're doing. But obviously, if you share one piece of information from a satanic paedophile whose main job is to make sure that you keep your mouth shut or you die, so they can convert your brothers, possibly kill one of them, but they can convert your brothers and keep the horrible evil system going. Possibly for this Mr. G, this chief honcho, coming on tonight, creating some a sense of self-empowerment in my life, but I saw a car that had drove down my street, down another street nearby, and it's like a 4x4. I think it was a Range Rover. So I still always have to be on alert because I know who they are and how they operate. So we all have imperfections. And let's say your partner or your friend has some imperfections, you know. Perhaps a part of their body is different to other people's, or they have like bad teeth, or they're overweight, or they've got something wrong with their eyes, like myself. But if you're a decent person, you love your friend or your partner with everything that comes with them. But you understand that to continue, you have to be in contact with the satanic paedophiles who are your family. You have to sort of blare out what they need in order for you to be able to connect with them. So to use like our colleagues, for example, or any person you're connected to, just to make this more general. And you say, oh yeah, they're fat, they've got bad teeth, they eat like a pig, and then you start laughing with them because you're connecting, because you can't get away from them. And then you feel bad because you've spoken about the personal things of your colleagues, your friend, your girlfriend. So it's not the same when you go back. And then they're in. They're in you. So I'm an artist when I've got energy to draw or paint. And they use that, you know, when you're drawing the patient's eyes, just press. I think this is just press on their eyes and look at them when you're doing it. And obviously if you get like really lost in the fear of what I'm talking about, it could hurt you, but sort of, you don't have to use the word spirituality. I think you can use the word connectedness if it's less intense for you. But we're here. Something was here before us, something will be here after us. There's a lot of elements in the world, like it's an amazing, remarkable place. And I think intuitivity, there's just so much going on. And like if you're an atheist, then you're an atheist, and it's not my job to convince you that God is real or spirituality is like spirit exists. But I'm just saying I know it because I've experienced it. It has a lot of connotations. I'm sitting with some triggers at the moment, or they're not far away, but I'm not going to try not to fall in that hole so much, and hopefully I'll get some answers in the future regarding other family situations to bring peace and healing to my soul. And then if you're manipulating a gifted spiritual being, you're using their energy and their gifts to create murder, death and destruction. So back to my girlfriend in Barcelona, I think one of the things I said is that she'd given me some bandages. I'd had an accident when I was longboarding down the hill at the castle, which is, I'm learning to connect now, so just saying castle isn't very good for connecting. But I can't remember the name of where this castle was. It was the manager of the travel bar who ran the castle, and I had to get a train on the it was outside central Barcelona, and whether it was an actual castle or not, I'm not sure, but I think there was sort of, it was a beautiful building in the wilderness up this like mountainous road. And I think that's something my uncle said, to get on the longboard, get down the mountain. And like he's connecting with my inner daredevil, which I think if they hadn't have got the hands on me, I probably wouldn't have done so many stunts and been so crazy. I would have probably just been like a little gifted artist who didn't really give the power away. And that's what they hated. So I think naturally I would have been so different if they hadn't have tainted me. Because I used to just like colouring. And then they'd tell me that I was colouring wrong, and I had to do the edges first and then the inside lighter, and I think they'd break my toys and break my pencils, and they just did all sorts of evil shit. And then when I went to a healing space, I've had some toys that I bought for inner child work, and I broke up my toys because it was part of the healing, reminding me where I went, where I was in those spaces. So my girlfriend would go from her name, which is a nice name, to that lass. They always use the word that, which has a lot of connotations, because obviously that is that which you've been imprisoned in your whole life, as family members like touching you and making you touch them and giving them oral sex and raping you and trying to kill you and mutilating you and cutting you, and oh, you need your in, which is like, you need the blood, you need a cut from me so you feel that, and you can take it to school. You don't tell anyone. I'm helping you. Not helping, I'm helping you. Yeah, not yes. And that's who they are. That's the DXVIL. They are yeah. YE. And that gives them delusional freedom that what they're doing is okay. Helping, yeah. How's that lass? What you gotta do, I'll tell you. I'll tell yeah. So you're not even there. Because it's all about yeah. It's all about keeping them. And the pentagram, I think they taught me to draw the pentagram, which I took to school one time, and thinking about the spiritual power of the pentagram and all of these people who have given their soul to the darkness, they're connected to the darkness, they get gratification from killing people, and seeing that look when people are absolutely fucked, like my girlfriend, pardon my French, who I raped in the rape or kill bind, and I've repressed memories of how she looked after the destruction of it all. And I had to take a photo and send it to my mum. And it's all about the wands, or they might even say wongs, to get the G in, just to keep it, nothing makes sense. Because I'm a living human now, my eyes fucked, my testicles, well, my eyes, there's people out there with a lot worse eyes, but they've damaged my eye, which has damaged me. My teeth have been damaged, which I hold them responsible for. My testicles damaged. But, and I think I've survived some damage, which if I connect with through a plant medicine ceremony, that will help me heal. Like, I'm confident they've had to put me back together, thinking like, how is he not dead? And there's a photo of me with my two brothers when we went to Centre Parks. I think I was instructed not to smile in the photo. My brothers were both beaming, and you can just see they're just hooked onto my mum sexually. They're part of her energy for everything she's suffered. And there's some logic in the way the satanic vil works and how it continues even though it's evil. Because it's like if my mum's genitals were mutilated, which I'm confident they were, if she did have an incest child to her dad, which I'm saying what I'm saying, which was probably by a rape, and brother was murdered, she has suffered, she's given her mind to the devil. DXVIL, pardon my French. But I've said it, haven't I? I've said devil, the devil's in my home now. But I'm part of the devil and the angel because I come from darkness and light. I think there's some stuff that I'll perhaps have to hold my dad accountable for when I get better insight in the future. There's an intuitive understanding of who he was and how his life played out, and how different who he was is to how I thought of him before I sort of went through my awakening. But taking my dad out of the equation and just understanding my Somali energy and my spiritual connection to source, then I don't know what I was trying to say, but perhaps I've learned to just try to let go. Well, to let go when you can't remember things, and so I think what they asked me to do, go and see that lass. This is your girlfriend. Get her to send you some more bandages, and take a photo of her on the balcony as she's throwing you the bandages. Or the service user I supported, who they made me make lots of ungodly mistakes with, and I think fortunately the boundaries and the support that was in place for him and us allows me to forgive myself and understand, like, I made a difference to his life, and I think they understood me, and I think people helped, my friends helped. But they wanted the so that's how they got in. Like, I've had the accident on the mountain, so they've already got me bleeding in Barcelona. Then they want me to take a photo of my girlfriend, so they're taking, and they know stuff about us, they know some of her imperfections, which they'll make me say to her in a different way, and know that I've been speaking to people about our relationship. And I won't want to, but then I won't want them to hurt my little brother. I'll just want to get away from them and get out of this episode of being back in contact with them. So within one phone call with my uncle, like, everything's changed. And my mum's on the phone, like, pretending to care. And it's repressed, but I'm confident. I gave my mum menstrual oral sex, and that was part of the abuse, which I'm healing, and it's empowering to own it and understand that I was an innocent child and she was a warped satanic paedophile who was tortured, and I can live a life without crucifying myself for it. So she's on the phone, you know, and when you heal, I can say, like, I won't say the devil too much, but the devil's on the phone. So now I'm going to change devil to Sith and ensure I don't say that word again in this talk. But you learn to become more confident as you heal. Oh, what's she like, love? You know, that lass, and you just pretend that it's your mum and there's some sort of relationship there because you still love your mum. and you want it to be okay, and I suppose even though it's icky, you don't want it to be anywhere near anything in your life. You also long for everything you never had, and you carry all of that pain, and you just go along with it. So I think I took a photo of her throwing me down, put it on my Facebook. That's another breach of her trust. Just like when I took a photo of my friend, of the service user's mum at her kitchen table, and if you're not expecting a photo, it's like seeing someone on a toilet. If you just look over the toilet and see them there, you see like a different picture of reality that we live in. You see someone like naked and vulnerable is the word, and that's what they love. And I think when I was drugged by my uncle, which is an intuitive repressed memory, which I'm confidently certain of, or at least when he got back in my life when I was in the services at different times, both working at Adca and Newbridges, he's like changing me from someone who protects my vulnerable patients to, oh, it's vulnerable, innit? That little L, and I was the little L to him, and he played Jamiroquai, which is his favourite musician, and he'd be grooming my boyhood to steal it, and possibly not even knowing what he's doing at a certain stage until he crossed over, which I've gone through some of these chapters with children in my family who I was close to. From family I was disconnected. I've been disconnected from for a long while. They were a big part of my life when I was living in Dubai. And I'll just call them my cousin's children, 3 children. And you got to be careful with trauma, because I think if you don't heal, you're always trying to unconsciously understand something through your actions. And mine's a unique situation because I always had paedophiles like wanting me to do horrible things to vulnerable adults and children, to be one of them. Sorry, I've got a vest on and I'm a bit conscious of showing my nipple. Which I suppose is different for men, isn't it, than women? Different for men to show the nipples than women. And perhaps it's something that will change in the future, I'm not sure. And I think I always feel like I'm hiding something because I carry so much. I finish my tea. And my Uncle Neil would, have you got your hand in yet? Which can have so many connotations, And being hand, the way they say it. Your hand can do all sorts of horrible things. But I think the worst thing is you're tortured and you're trafficked and you're sold into child prostitution, and they try to kill you and they abuse you and they rape you and they steal your boyhood. And it's a horrible existence surviving all of that. But then they steal your victimhood from you by giving you an and, so you can go to your therapist or your partner. I was raped by my uncle. They bleached my skin. My mum made me give her menstrual oral sex. They tried to kill me. They poured petrol on me. I'm a victim. Go on then. Where's your hand? And I raped my girlfriend and threatened her with a hammer. And I'm putting a boundary in place now, but I've said previously with another video, there was a jerry can with petrol, and this is who I am spiritually, to work with this energy to stay alive and send it back to the bastards. But that's a big and, isn't it? your stuff with the children in your family? You know, is there another aunt? What's the youngest one called? So I'm going to trust myself now. I'm going to use a made up name, but it will honour the situation. Zach. Oh, what's that Zank like? Oh, that Zank. Probably wouldn't be Zank, because you understand, I could read my uncle quite well. Oh, he's a funny one, isn't he? I bet he's a funny one, or a funny one. And they're essentially talking about his innocence, his essence, his life force. Oh, Liam, are you alright? I think it's that stress from work. Oh, it's bad for you, that stress. Oh, that stress. Oh. Yeah. Why don't you get him some shoes? They're going to think you don't care about them. Don't you care? Get him some shoes. Shoes. But whether he keeps them or not, if my cousin accepts those as a gift, obviously I've had some. It's been horrible with a lot of family because I was Oppenheimer. I changed things, and I've made a lot of mistakes due to my family's mind control and my own unhealed trauma. It was a very difficult chapter in my life. A lot of dynamics. But that's me intuitively imagining, like, without. It's like my mum, Carol, my uncle Neil, my uncle. Instead of calling him Community Resolution Order, I'll just say JS, you know? A side of the game that I'm playing with them. It's like pretending I don't know who they are or I don't know what they're up to, but like intuitively I'm very gifted, even though I've broken to pieces in the process of gluing myself back together like the beautiful art of Kintsugi. But taking all the bullshit away, it's like they're there with their own devil wizardry. I've said it again, haven't I? Their own Sith wizardry, pardon my French. Oh, did you take in them shoes? See, yeah, I told you. And it's like, did they take his balls, you know? Did they detach them? Did my grandmother eat them? You know, what did they do to him to make him a psychopathic murderer paedophile, like, who doesn't care anymore? And you're playing along with him. And then you're lost. They know how to control your mind because they control you through your sexual energy, which was part of them. I was amalgamated with them all. So before you know it, you're taking them shoes. And it's an in. We're not talking about the and in at the minute. It's like I've got all of this trauma and I've done all of these fucking horrible things. And I think when you're... Obviously I was forced to rape, so I'm a rapist. And I can't speak confidently about my deviancy after the rape, but I'm hoping that the only time I actually raped someone was the rape or kill bind, and that any other deviancy or sort of aggression during sex and horrible stuff was, even if any of my other acts were disgusting or inappropriate, that hopefully none of the others after like were classed as rape. And my uncle taught me that, he used to teach me on the drives that rape was just sex. what do they do in them schools? Yes, shall I go in with me tricks? And I could speak about him for hours. And it's possibly something I'll honour in a book, if I write my book, which I've started a book, and perhaps I'll have to start a new one, or perhaps it's something I can finish. And I think I wrote 3 chapters, and looking back on the chapters, it's what I wrote, especially regarding my dad, was sort of intuitively teaching me. Hopefully I can continue that book and finish it, but we always learn. So I lived in a villa with the family in Dubai, and that was the whole other chapter for therapy. But if you're at a gathering and you're a special needs tortured person and they're in, just messages when they're at work, and they can sense the innocence, they can sense the vulnerability, they can sense. I was going to the mosque with my cousin's husband and I was enjoying it because it was part of, well, that's a big threat to them because I'm connecting with my gifts. I think when I was in Manchester trying to get away from them, I was told I couldn't go to any churches. And I had a colleague which, on hindsight, thinking about him, it could have been an unhealthy connection, but he was supportive. And I think he invited me to church once and I just said no. I couldn't do anything. And it's like Neil said, that was one of the control words. Oh, Neil said. Neil's got a solution for it all. Stress in. You stress in, get rid of all that for you. Stress in. No stress. You got your stress. Become a paedophile, satanic murdering paedophile. In. No stress. That's who they are. So they like the look on an animal or a child or a adult's face when they're fucked, whether they're being raped, whether they're being killed, and they've got the last breaths coming out of them and whatever blood and mutilation and torture they're carrying. For example, I'm healing now, I'm trusting my connection to source, so I'll use myself as an example and just be confident in my light. Let's say I shoot myself, or I'm shot, I don't have a gun, and there's nobody else in my flat at the moment. But if I'm shot, let's say in my chest here, there's blood. But I think what they like is they like the look in the eye that you give them when you're fucked, whether you're being raped, killed, or you're on the way to dying. And I think you have to look at them in that frame for them to get the kick. And I had a repressed memory of, I think, my uncle JS and my grandmother Lesley Sargent buried Dickinson. Him arguing with her or her shouting at him because they'd killed a child or taken a child's innocence, but he didn't look at the child or adult or animal or whatever victim it was. You know, it doesn't have to be concise for me to get my point across. He didn't look to get the kick. And I have very, very vague repressed memories of him trying to get away from my grandmother. And I think he was saying about me and about my eyes and that I'm sent to maybe help with the murder of Lee, but not saying that out loud because that was the big thing. They could never say it. And I think if one of them had the courage to just say it and to get support, like my mum, who was making friends with her neighbour Sally, whose dad died by falling off ladders, and I think my nana would tell me to go to touch the ladders, and there was some horrible situations in my home, I think, of punching or slapping and spitting on someone, and my nana brought so much hell and evil and My mum she had some trust built with people, or approaching to trust, but my nana just got back in and destroyed everything. And I think my nana owned my mum's womanhood, or whatever womanhood she had, and like it's that energy of it's not mine. So my mum was just trapped. She couldn't do anything. And I think, back to the rape, I'm understanding being a rapist, having forced to rape my girlfriend in my 20s. I'm understanding that most men who have raped forget that they've raped someone, because it's so horrible for you as well as the person who you've raped, that you just sort of block it from your mind, and then it comes back in stages, or whenever it's ready to come back, it comes back, and then you have the whole healing process of like being accountable, atoning, hopefully not killing yourself or abusing people, and continuing and becoming like a Sith, a perpetrator, an evil person. And then you own it, you show it in your photos that you've changed. You sacrifice your jeans, you don't wear jeans. I've got posters in my room because I don't have any tools, and I'm understanding a different way of life, because I've gone through a process now. When you go through, what the fuck's going through to someone who didn't take anything seriously and all this pain? Oh, you know what going through is. When you go through, you're becoming a man. And if you've raped someone and you've been abused, it's a metamorphosis in line with like a spiritual awakening. You're going through. You're going to be so fucking angry about all the people that have abused you and hurt you, and all of the things you've done, and how you've continued the cycle of trauma and didn't stand up for yourself, you wasn't protected, and it's like, I don't want to be this person. I had all this shit happen to me. I was forced to rape. I've got all of this deviancy, lots of mistakes with service users and the children in my family, and I feel fucking horrible about myself, and I've got nobody. But whatever you carry, you're going through. It's a rite of passage. You're going through to become a man. And perhaps non-rapists also go through. Well, I'm sure they do. It's a stage in life. Carry their own pain and still go through to becoming a man. Well, it's a difficult process. People talking about running baths, or mentioning the swimming baths, or triggering you in messages, or smoking you in messages, or metaphorically smoking you by mentioning smoking, or leaving a pack of cigarettes outside your house, or whatever. I'm understanding, you're getting metaphorically smoked and drowned and locked out of your friend groups and your family and everything, and you're drowning. It's an act of love. Whether you've raped someone, you're a satanic ritual abuse survivor, whatever you've been through, you're going through, mate. Enjoy. Enjoy the drowning, learn to swim, rise. And then you can come back when you're one of us, You're here to help, to be accountable, to be a man. I think there's a saving grace that if I was crossed over into the Sith, irreparable, irredeemable, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So I'm gonna try and close this talk off. But I think some of the other things my mum said to me, especially when I came back from India, she gave me a neckerchief which belonged to Uncle JS, apparently, to take into my cousin's home. She looked in my eyes, and I heard about shouldn't shake someone's hand or touch them or look it directly into their eyes if it's not an energetic match. If it's like a narcissist or an evil person, they can harm you by touching you, shaking your hand, looking in your eyes, giving you something. It's an energetic exchange. And perhaps I wanted intuitively to go back into the darkness to kill it. But like being in my mum's home and her looking in my eyes, cuddling me, kissing my neck, and telling me what I needed to do with my cousin's children so they could trust me. Like I had to say to my girlfriend in Egypt before the forced rape happened, you know. Trust me. No, all you got to say to her, all you got to say is BL, or RL, should I say. Do you trust me? Just trust me. And they'd already made me introduce violence into the relationship, and you're on holiday now, son. So just go to it and then don't, and then smile, and she'll thank you for it. Because we're waiting for the bigger hammer to fall. Because we want all of that. All of that energy, all of that blood, that pain, that destruction, for everything I've sacrificed. Yeah, you get it. And my balance is between healing and sharing and authentically honouring my path as a satanic ritual abuse survivor, former child prostitute, rape or guilt-bound survivor, all of my own grey areas, and equally finding a way to sort of move on or let go. But like, this is my lot. Like Aneka Lucas, she's a famous child sex trafficking survivor. She's not just fell into a new age, I'm going to change my name and let go, because none of that exists in my reality now. For me, it's like, well, this is me. I'm not going to change my surname. I'm going to honour it. And possibly eradicate my middle name, which is my father's name, David, as part of my new life. Probably do that. I think you can do that when you order your passports. But I'm going to honour myself and bring some healing to my bloodline and be Liam Norman, because I could have a beautiful new name, which one of my therapists recommended. I think changing my surname, have a new life. But for me, as part of my dharma, which is my purpose or my authenticity, it's like, it seems appropriate to keep my surname and be Liam Norman, because that's who I was born to be. And I used to judge my surname because it's like no man, and obviously I've had my manhood stolen, and the Normans are beautiful and gifted in my opinion, but they've also been very cursed with a lot of trauma and addiction and darkness. So I think I was the one, or one of the key Normans, like Moana, which I've watched, listened to passively. I watched, well, it was just on in the background, number 2, and just going into the darkness to find the light. So I took the photo of my girlfriend in Barcelona. Then I made her do the stunt after I picked her up from a pub crawl. We were longboarding together, and I think she fell off and banged her head, a big lump on the back of her head. So it's like she's gone from being my girlfriend, who I'm connecting with, a side of her imperfections, to that lass. All her imperfections are with my uncle now, which will soon go to my mother and probably my uncle at the carpet shop. As a private photo, I've asked her for some more bandages, so they're taking my autonomy away from me. Possibly I was okay, I didn't need to see her again, but they'll convince me that she's trying to get away from me. A private photo of her throwing bandages, which I think I shared on Facebook, that leaves her exposed. They can work on the energy, they're in. They made me take that photo, they control my eyes, they control my life, they control my being. They've already got my blood, they've got the photo, they get her on the skateboard, she's fallen off the skateboard, she's banged her head, there was possibly, I think there was blood on her from the accident, and they're in. They're well and truly in. I was using my cousin's they gave me their oldest child's bedroom to use when I was a guest after coming back from India. Somehow I managed to get back from India and stay separated from my family, who were the network, and I found myself in a different situation with like having a metaphorical red dots on my head from going public about trauma and getting closer to releasing this, pulling the carpet back on all of this evil shit, and then it brings other people's trauma up, because if you're focusing for healing and authenticity, every people don't want to stop fucking dealing drugs or abusing people or throwing around the quiet money and keeping a lid on the trauma. If you want to be the agent of change and you're formerly a scapegoat and someone who's overlooked, people are possibly threatened by you because of your gifts, which so they hone down on your curse and your weakness and your vulnerabilities. You soon feel the opposing energy when you start to step into your light, and then you're also being controlled by your own unhealed darkness and the mind control from your family, and like just, or you should have a cushion with you next to them when you sit with them on the sofa, or make sure you hold their hands, and or take your pants off under the quilt and ask them to pass you a new pair of pants, and then they know they can trust you then, you know. If they're in the bath, don't let them see you. And it's just all of this horrible stuff, and I've had to go to some serious dark places because I was already working with my own inner Sith and all of the poison which replicates itself, you know, from cousins, aunties, uncles, like mothers, fathers, play fighting, you know, that's how it starts. I love play fighting because I'm a big kid. But you're unconscious, you've got a lot of trauma. You've got to be careful when you've got trauma, how it impacts people. So I just try to forgive myself for mistakes and bringing a certain energy into homes and certain actions, and like I think one of the things my uncle said in, I'll use a boundary, but if any particular people are listening to this, they will be able to join the dots, but just like convincing you to masturbate in a family member's bed and watch a film, but don't look at the description. Yeah. And you're at new levels with them with the mind control now, because you're already fucking things up at work, and you've gone to work in this barber jacket which has been given to you in this satanic presentation. Is not the best description because it was in his home with his girlfriend. I don't even know if she was in, but it was just a whole weird thing of me accepting this jacket, which I didn't really have a choice. And he was going through, oh, I don't know if I should let it go. I've got an idea. Take it into work. Tell him it's a Barbie. And I don't care about brands unless it's New Balance. I've always loved New Balance, but I was happy with my own little setup in life, but then I'm back with the satanic people blocking everything they've done to me, and I want love from them, and I want to think that they were good people, and it's like, do you want us to love you? After everything we've done for you? No, you're getting a bit, no, I'm sorry Liam, but it's just a bit put out by that, a bit of no. And then they trigger the shame, and obviously if I was giving my uncle oral sex all of my childhood and being raped by him and tortured by them all, it's easy for them to hook into me. So then you just say, oh, I'm sorry, and you just tell them the information, you know. I think I was happy to wear the jacket because it was a nice jacket, and I was happy for the attention, but it changed so much, and we had a patient suicide before I left the work, and I feel partly responsible for it, and there was some other events at work, and people really fought for me not to get sacked or not to get harmed by my colleagues, and there was an incident with the work vehicle, and I took a photo with one of my colleagues who was like quite quite popular and beautiful, maybe controversial in some ways, and I made a remark about her partner, and it's like my uncle telling me how to behave to get the heat on me, and making me think that I didn't know what I was doing, and that he's, oh, is it? I dare tell you what they used to call me, Liam. And sometimes you laugh about it, how funny it is. Not funny, or they would say funny, but they get you to laugh about it. Or they would ask you to say something to a teacher at school, inappropriate and satanic, and look at them and make them laugh. And then you find out that they didn't come back to work because they feel so ashamed of how you've made them feel, and they can't get it off them, you know. Like, I don't know if this is something that they made me do. Possibly there's many horrible things at school, like masturbating in class. I remember I once masturbated in class, and possibly my uncle made me do this, or possibly it was just the trauma. But I think, like, say to your teacher, like, what's a clit, and then smile at them, make sure they smile. Or my nana, I think that Myra Hindley, oh, that poor lass, all she went through, and then make your teacher smile. And then more than likely you've got a good teacher who cares about students, and you've made them smile about a clitoris, or how all the pain poor Myra Hindley went through. And possibly, like my mother, Myra Hindley went through a horrible pain before she turned to, I think she murdered children and stuff. But that's what they do. When I was going to the mosque with my cousin's husband, I was really enjoying the mosque, and they were probably waiting for the hammers to fall. That they sensed when things were changing in the home, and I think they made me start to use webcam sites, and I was getting banned off these webcam sites, and it was just horrible, the things I had to do. But like, you're going to the mosque, you start wearing a shirt, you're really enjoying being connected to a family, there's always nice food, and you're part of a new community, and then all you've got to say to him is like something about toenails, you know, hey, I forgot to cut my toenails, or have you cut your toenails? And then he, from a traditionalist or a Muslim point of view, whatever point of view, a respect, honouring the dynamic, I'm going to wait in the car, bro, you know, you go, it's okay, bro. He's not been violent or aggressive with me, but it's horrible. Like, I've just made some distasteful comment about toenails because the Satanists think it's funny. We'll break the trust, we'll break his connection to God. We can't have him building trust. He needs to be exposing himself on webcam sites, or we need to get him close to the children to pass the poison on. There was a photo of me, like, not being evicted from the villa, but moving on with my Mickey Mouse t-shirt and all the stuff on my back, and it's like, must be like, yes, he's going to his own accommodation now, so we can control him more. And then I was throwing fire extinguishers off floors in Dubai, like however high up, and possibly, like, my dad lived on the 14th floor in the flats in Hull, Amberley Street, but I don't know, it was possibly on the 20th floor in the Sky Courts Villas. It wasn't a very nice area of Dubai. It was like far out in the desert from the centre of Dubai. But it doesn't matter what floor I was on, you know, 10th floor, 12th floor. I'm throwing fire extinguishers, you know, off the floors. And when I was at Newbridges, right, what I need is a plan. Have you got a fire plan? Have you got a plan? Here's this coin. Not a coin, a coin. Take it in the nurse's office. Leave it in there. And it's like a mantle. It's something they can get us the names of the patients. Hey, doctor, what's he like? How much do you reckon he earns? Make him a nice cup of tea. Here's a magic spoon. Here, get us a spoon. Oh, just get us a spoon. Oh, we've lost it. So they've took something from the unit. They know the names of the patients. They've got into me through drugging me and what's going on with them. They're telling me what to say to vulnerable people. I'm just possessed. There's all this chaos going on around me. People dying at various stages and people wanting to. One of my colleagues who became a friend, or as close as I could be as a friend to someone, looking back, he took me on a drive with another colleague quite far away. They, from a traditionalist point of view, I think what he was planning to do is if he saw what he was looking for in my eyes, which is essentially like satanic pedophilia evil, he was going to beat the shit out of me and leave me. Which I look back and I have love and compassion for him as a person. They were all acting how they needed to act to manage this evil that was in the unit and telling me what to say and how to destroy my work relationships. And one of my colleagues gave me loads of clothes, which I gave to my mum when she was in this woman's refuge. For all I know, she maybe wasn't in the woman's refuge, and all of this was smoke and mirrors for the network getting back in. And if she was in the woman's refuge and she was getting close to this mother with a baby, like, I put my life on it that was to steal the child's innocence. And just, where's my basilica? A woman who tortured me and made me give her menstrual oral sex and fucking sold me and wanted to kill me and hated my guts. Let me just punch you in the front of your head. Oh, he's got a lump. Here, let's take a picture. Let's have a look at your lump. Where's my basilica? I drew a photo of a picture of the basilica. Oh, I want some rosaries. When I was with my girlfriend who I raped. Oh, let's have a look at your rosaries, son. You never guess what yeah has done. I've broken them. Oh. I've got this amazing picture, Uncle JS, in India with some Indian guys on the beach, like the most amazing, beautiful photo you could get travelling in a different. I don't know if I should share it. Let's have a look. Sends it, not sends it, sends it. I'll tell you what to do. I'm helping you. I'm teaching you how to be. And I already knew how to be. I was doing well as a traumatised person. What you've got to do is send your mum the original. Delete it, crop it. She's going to send it back. Oh, you never guess what I've done, son. I've deleted it. I'm so sorry. But you've still got the cropped one. Oh, but I've not got the original one, and I wanted to put it in a nice frame. It's the most beautiful photo. They've got the energy, and I'm divinely gifted. So anything they take off me is theirs, and I'm broken. They broke and broke and took and took and took, and I had to connect with God and connect with Spirit to stand up inside myself and send it back and to take my power back. She binned my shoes. I came back from a driving lesson when I was about 16. I had some P Flyers, which are like Converse, and they had a rubber front with like grid, like not spikes, but like, and I think understanding neurodiversity or who I am as a person, believe autistic, is that close contact, not in a trauma icky way, but like just the trainers. I loved the trainers. They looked so cool, and she binned them. I saw the owner of I won't give the name of the shop, but in the arcade in town, and I'm going to bring this to a close now, there's a joke shop was one of the main areas where, looking back in the trapped Groundhog Day satanic ville of my life, always going to the joke shop with my satanic uncle who was torturing me. But there's a popular vintage shop in the arcade, and after I raped my girlfriend, I had to steal something from there, a pop jumper. So they'd made me torture my girlfriend. They remember everything that's been part of your life. So I went into the coffee house, which I don't mind giving the name of. We used to go there as kids, which was a good memory. I'd have a Coke float with my brother. He'd always go in the game shops. So I look back I raped my first girlfriend. They made me rape my first girlfriend. I went and had a meal in the coffee house. Well, I raped and pretty much tortured my first girlfriend. And went to eat food at the coffee house with my friends, but ran away without paying the bill. Stole a pop jumper from a popular vintage store in the arcade, which I used to love going in there. It was part of any independence that I was creating for myself. What it is, right? You gotta get a pop. Because what they do is they pop cherries, they steal innocence. They're getting me closer to the DXVIL. Raping my girlfriend, threatened her, all this evil stuff that they set up for me to do while I was intoxicated. Then you gotta go and steal from a shop which you love and they've got really nice owners. And it's a pop jumper, get it? Because that's what we do. It's what it's all about at the minute. It's all about at the minute. So I'm on the ones at the minute. So I think what happens to them, because they're victims as well, is they get blackmailed once they're in. So they might have some love for me. Oh, I can't torture him anymore. I've raped him. We've done all this mind. Oh. And then perhaps they show us a picture of a few children or one child, or they say we've got some innocence lined up for you. And it's like, well, they've got nothing left to live for. The brother was murdered. They've become a paedophile. They're tortured. They just give the evil out. Of course, I'll drug him more and destroy his work relationships and target the children in his family and target the vulnerable adults and try to kill him. Of course, I'll do anything you want if you're going to give me all of these children's innocence to take my pain away, and it'll never be enough. But it gives them the freedom, it gives them something back, but they always want more because they've lost the chance to be redeemed. So I saw the owner of this store recently, I think it was yesterday, and I just blurted out all of this stuff to him about being a former child prostitute, satanic ritual abuse survivor, rape or kill by survivor, and I stole the jumper and I'm really sorry. And I think I made the connection to be accountable and for him to understand. There's just like a respectful distance, and it helped me, and it's a part of healing. Like sometimes, like in the steps, I'm not an alcoholic or an addict of any major sort. Like I think I feel lucky where addiction's concerned, but I've got a 12-step book, and one of the steps, which I think I always get it wrong and say it's step 7, maybe it's step 9, but and I need a wee, so I'm going to stop this in a moment. But there's like one of the steps, I take wisdom from everywhere. One of the steps is going back to people and saying sorry, and I think there's a teaching or an understanding within this piece of wisdom. Sometimes it's more appropriate not to say anything and to heal the guilt and shame from your wrongdoing, and to use it as a life lesson to let the other person be free and you be free, because you can disturb their life and it can be more selfish to go back and try and get forgiveness. Other times you can't lie to yourself, and it's like I need to apologize, I need to repent. So with this man who runs this store, and how I was feeling yesterday, which wasn't so bad, also maybe not so great, it's like there's a possibility I won't use that shop ever again and that chapter's closed. Maybe I'll try my luck one day, go back and buy something, but probably not. Maybe I'll see him and he'll say, don't be afraid to come back, who knows. But the main feeling is I did wrong, I apologized for it. There was no handshake or no real familiarity with him, because that's his strength and his boundary. But it's just like, I'm sorry. And I think he said, how are you doing now in your life? That's the main thing. But that's what they do, they take everything from you. And I think that whoever runs it, they blackmail the people who are in the ring with the innocence of the children. So that's where my compassion comes from for my uncle and my mothers, because really they're just mind control slaves to pedophilia. And then obviously I think they used to say, sometimes you'd have a real not educational conversation, but sometimes there'd be some real deep truths. I think these are like vague and repressed, but like some of them saying like, I don't want to be who I am. I don't want to do this, but I also don't want to die. And I've been forced to be this person, and I don't know. There was a lot of evil and darkness, and sometimes the sincerity would often change to like the Sith, and there's just no understanding. But there's also some deeper truths like of an understanding, however they are, with the psychopathy of it. There's an understanding that they were once victims, and they're often trapped into becoming perpetrators. But then my healing or teaching myself is like I had the strength to free myself and to make the right decisions and to somehow not give away my mind and my soul. So my mum, as coerced and tortured and pressured as she was to join them, she has to be accountable, because she could have trusted her neighbours more when she was building trust. She could have been more honest with people about her brother's murder. She could have stood up to her mother, and she could have tried to create more distance. And I think possibly Neil told my nana where my mum lived when we were on Glen Eagles, which I think was a safe house after the shooting at another home nearby. And I think if he hadn't have told my nana where my mum was, and possibly this is in old police records, because I think if we were moved to this house, that was through the police. But I think Neil massively changed things for my mum. I hold so many memories, like, by letting my nana know where I was, and obviously she's fucking turned into Satanic Paedophile Cruella de Vil. Got into us through Wallace and Gromit, letting us name the dog Gromit but spelt differently, and just this woman who my mum couldn't get rid of. But my mum, I think they took the choice away from, there was no choice, hence the business's first choice, and they survived by removing choice and torturing and killing and forcing people to do evil things. And once you force someone to rape, the terror of that, someone's much more manipulatable to be able to become a paedophile, because the childhood's been brutal torture and hell. Then they've been forced to rape someone they love and see that horrible look on their face of just death staring them in the eyes that they've created. And this is a good way to close. I think my uncle, after it, would ring up like, "Here, I'm talking to your mum. Me and your mum talking on the phone. Have you lost something? What you lost?" "No." "Oh no, Carole is not lost out. I've lost my manhood. My manhood. Oh, we thought you'd lost something. Oh, must be us. Alright, Liam, see you later, Liam." And yeah, I sincerely think he came to Beverley Road with a knife in his jacket to kill me, and if my friend wasn't there, who supported me throughout many years of staying alive, maybe spirit would have saved me, because that's my light, some people just have a purpose. But I think he came, like literally death staring you in the face. There's levels. See, it's easy to get lost into saying stuff that isn't true, but there's an understanding that is like, he's getting me to do all this stuff which is affecting my relationships with my family and the children in my family and my service users, and there's levels. Got to make them trust you. And you're just harming people without realising what you're doing, or like putting feces in your mouth to let a disabled person know that they can trust you and make a song and dance in the bathroom, because you're getting the chaos in there, you're reducing the safety, Can't you get your mum out the house? It's like, what? The mum out the house? It's like, what? So you can come and torture a disabled person and leave me with that hell and destruction? And then I get locked up, and then my brothers are easy pickings. So this is an hour and 40 minutes. It's a positive for me to discuss my trauma. If it's released, I hope it's helped someone. I'll probably not open the comments on this channel, or if I do, it will be God willing, I get some more years and a nice life. Like, if I release something where I'm in a really new chapter and I think, well, I release an audio book or a documentary and I want people to comment, then perhaps I'll open the comments in the future. But I've been through so much, and I often write in the notes or the description of the video. It seems to work for me to not have comments on my videos at the moment. But if this is released, I hope it's been helpful for you in a healing capacity. Namaste. Thank you.